That's supposed to be that. Around about before winter, right? I thought it's December. All right, 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Open Meetings Act posted on the back wall, along with the code of conduct. Roll call has been taken. Will you pledge allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion in a second. If no one has any questions on it.
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion to approve the consent agenda was made by Peterson and seconded by Lawton. Lawton,
Yes.
Schminty,
Yes.
Chittenden,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Discussion. Shane?
Yeah, I'm just here on behalf of, well, I guess my property over on, in ICANN. I've noticed, over the period of, it's been going on for a while, but sinkholes that are, 6 to 8 inches deep above surface. So these got down below there in my backyard, they're around the area, the sidewalks are sinking like this. Telephone poles are leaning like this. I drill all day long in dirt, so I understand how it goes. We called Sudbeck a while ago and he told us basically go F ourselves to sue him, whatever. But my concern is, I had Thrasher come out, they did checks on everything, and yes, there was major erosion out there. We did do a prevention patch in the middle of our driveway to stop the erosion coming through after our neighbors put in pine trees to root the soils, But I know Melvin, when I was out there when that development was made, and he did not put topsoil on this agricultural soil. So my concern is, with my driveway creeping, all my concrete transition is sunk down now. The moisture is no longer creeping up under my garage when the condensation changes, which means those holes are getting deeper. Now my concern is, Matt, we have our problems, whatever, that's beside it. Street creep going down the hill, your house is target to be street creep with concrete erosion going that way, pushing your walls in over time. But we get a sinkhole out there, we don't know how deep that goes, and people's lives are at stake, So I was told by city maintenance, they said there's a sump pump running all the time up at the top of the hill. I've seen a lot of worms, and worms are common with ground erosion. So there's a lot of worms, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And something that gets us like to some million dollars for the development of that project here this year or last year, something like that. But he wants to tell all of us through ourselves. I've contacted insurance companies, and they said as long as nobody's making any attempts to try to solve the problem, insurance ain't gonna cover it because it's homeowners negligence. We can't afford to pay $10,000 to $20,000 to pump that, foam in the cement to stop the erosion or anything like that. So I'm asking if any way we can get some sort of surveyors out there to start drilling to see if there is big holes or craters in these certain areas. Because where your brother's at, his sidewalk's leaning like that, and the telephone pole's going like that, and that's where direct line is over my house, where the city put a sidewalk in there, and it's sunk down by about 6 inches or so, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper. And on the other side of the street, that's where these big sinkholes are at too, where it's actually above the ground. So if you got deep erosion sinkholes and you're dropping your soil, your roots are going to hold everything in place up high. But if you're 20, 30 feet deep in the mud I see coming down the street with that running water all the time is like clay. It's not dirty soil, it's clay. I've taken a power washer, tried to wash it. It's just real grimy, dirty water. So that's all I'm here for, is to try to, get some sort, because I know you're on the city council, so you really can't really do much as far as you gotta have somebody speak to get some action on some of this stuff, to get it done, so something needs to be looked at. I mean, lives are in danger, we're $500 million homes, can't afford to lose them, so that's all I got. All right, thank you, Matt.
Yep, thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. Justin Marty.
I just wanted to take a second to congratulate Brett on his new seat, and Kyle for the up to President of the City Council. Thank you. Congratulations.
I don't think I have a presentation, right? Move on to ordinance 806. Robert, given.
Alrighty, so some of you might be aware that the city is currently under the 2015 series of building codes that cover any construction that occurs within the city. When I was brought onto the team, a decision was made to update all of those codes with 2021 standards. Subsequently, that is what I obtained certification to do residential building inspection with. And the city's already invested in the entire suite of code books related to 2021. I've spent the most time with the residential code, which is why we're bringing that to you first. We plan to bring the rest of them subsequently to you once I've had opportunity with them. The ordinance as it's presented to you guys has a number of amendments. The majority of those amendments only have to do with administrative stuff. So questions like what requires a permit, what timing process, expiration dates, stuff like that. The two main pieces of structural amendments that I and the city, the city's planning commission worked through last week that would be related to requirement for fire suppression sprinklers in homes, which the city has already nixed once before. So we're just carrying that on. And second, our allowance for crushed stone footings, which is a very old way of doing things. Our technology has significantly advanced since the 1940s. So between myself and the planning commission's advice, we're suggesting that that get deleted. In addition, for your consideration, we are proposing adopting radon control standards. Basically, we're in a very severe area where radon gas exists. Radon gas is the #2 cause of lung cancer. And this whole area where we've got in the Midwest, just like a stream of this weird kind of clayey soils that cause radon. So my suggestion was to add that in as a protection. Radon ultimately, if it gets detected in home inspections when we're talking about exchange, so buyers and sellers exchanging homes, the radon gets inspected. In most cases, that's kind of a something that has to be addressed during the sale anyway. So for new construction, if you guys decide to adopt it as it's currently presented, that would be included.
But it's just included just to test for it, right? Like I put in a mitigation system in my home, but then the house next door to you may not need it. It really just depends.
So if you guys were to adopt it with the radon control method, all new construction would require the control methods. So it's a vapor barrier, right, even before they put down foundation, and then a second sump pump, which basically pumps that gas up out of the house. So that would be, it would actually be for new construction. We're not talking about sale.
So if that piece of land has no radon detected in it, why would they need to?
You wouldn't know until the home was constructed. The way that radon works is it collects inside the four walls, and that's how you detect it. You can't really just detect it in the open air. It's odorless. It's practically, once it comes up, if it's not being contained within four walls, it's really hard to detect.
So what do surrounding areas do? Because I mean, it's not cheap to put it in, right?
It's actually that you're talking about it's pretty simple. It's literally just a vapor barrier underneath the concrete. That second sump pump vents it up and out. The cost, I mean, I know that the cost we're talking probably $1,000 or $2,000, and it's up to you guys on the decision you make on this. I'm just suggesting it because we are in an area where it's severe.
I think it's pretty common in your house to be more anyways.
Well, I know a lot of times when you sell, a lot of times the buyer will request that on an inspection or whatever. I feel like if I was building a home, wanted it done, I would ask for it done. I feel like I need to, most people will do that, I guess, but.
I think we can reach out and we can pass this first reading. Reach out and talk to other smart communities that have something similar. See if it's. I think we can change the each reading, right?
Two readings.
Up to you guys. The only other thing I had, I kind of talked to Robert about it today. Was minimum of 2 business days in advance, it kind of sounded like came from the planning commission. I think that it's like, we're not super really busy in the office. Yes, 2 days would be really nice, but you know, if you get something at noon, I feel like we should be able to make it the same day unless. Substantially. Something crazy.
I don't think it hurts to have that in there, but I think we all need to have the understanding that there's stuff that comes out that you can't get noticed for. You know what I mean? So I think there's.
I don't mind the 2-day being in there, because then if you can't, then you're not gonna have a bunch of upset people, because that's probably pretty standard.
This doesn't say that you have to, it just says it is. Yeah, right.
That's what
Which I agree with that. It's just a courtesy that, hey, get ready to get done with this. Let's get inspection plan.
And then my question, because I'm sure this was in here before, on the 1-story detached accessory structures under the 200 square feet that they don't need, you know, a permit for, then what if they're not following the ordinance and following the proper setbacks? What's our recourse for that?
Okay, so there's no provision for setbacks in that. In fact, this is a really great question. So there's no, you're asking questions about zoning. This has entirely only to do with this code. Which is why in that section you're referencing, which is on page 2, if you look at that second bullet point underneath amended section 105.2, in bold, I put exemption from the permitting requirements of this code does not exempt development and or land use activities from the permitting / approval requirements of the city's zoning ordinance. That has been, as far as I can tell, an issue in the past. People looked at this book and that's all they looked at. And yeah, the setback, because you guys have gone through the zoning amendments, and the zoning is important. There are 2 separate documents, but for some reason, it was always just looked at as this. And as a result, our code, both this one and the zoning, has been applied. So it's going to be really critical that people pay attention to that. Now, the thing about 200 square feet accessory structures, they're trying to give some amount of leeway. It doesn't matter to me at all what requires a permit. In fact, I think it's really important that we discuss what requires a permit. Better now than down the road. The zoning doesn't have a size limit. Every single structure requires a permit according to the zone. Every single one. In the building code, for me, it makes sense to go with 200. In fact, it would almost make sense to go up to 300 and 400, because that's when you start requiring footings. If it's 2 to, I think the number's 400 that requires footing. If it's 2 to 400, there's nothing that requires that we lock that thing down. So if it gets really windy, if we get a tornado, that shit's gone. But that's why the 200 number is kind of put in there, is to give some amount of reasonability. I've seen 100 square feet, I've seen 200 square feet, 150 as being the exemption level in any kind of building code, whether it be zoning or something like this. That, you know, that's totally standard way of doing business. In fact, it was a shock to me when I walked in here and the zoning ordinance basically said everything requires permit. I was pretty shocked by that, but that's how it was written. And we can talk about zoning down the road, but right now, that's what it currently exempts. So it's a question for sure as to whether or not that makes sense.
We've just had problems with setbacks in the past and getting approved for things or what have you. And so I don't know, I think with just the history of it, you're adding something new to your property.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that stuff as more probably of the permit to make sure that they're doing, because then it becomes oh, I already put it here, now you want me to move it? Well, you didn't follow the correct setbacks.
And just because something is exempt from permitting requirements doesn't mean that it doesn't need to apply or need to comply with code. That was already specifically written, and I've still included that here. But the goofy thing about that is zoning requires one thing, this one requires another. I initially thought that maybe we should suggest to you guys that they be more similar, but if I'm being kind of honest, I'm not sure that that does make sense now that I've spent a whole lot of time with this code. Based off of how it's written, but again, it's up to you guys and we can work out what makes sense.
I feel like anything that requires footings would need to be permitted, right? But if I'm gonna play ownership, I mean, I could move, but it's not a permanent structure. I don't know. That's like, I mean, I think you gotta give you guys the benefit of the doubt.
And you can stop even going to 400, 500 square feet, right? Like, that's not very big. No, that should, I mean, like, not like we're talking.
But there could be somebody that at 300 square feet doesn't require footings, but they put footings in, they didn't abide by the setbacks. So then you have an issue, so maybe it needs to be written
You're installing
footings, right?
Can I make a suggestion? If we have like a tough shed that comes in and basically, I want to call it a skid shed where it's not on any kind of concrete slab. Maybe distinguish between that and something that's going onto the slab. The slab's gonna be more permanent because it's built on that thing. So if you're having to move it, you're having to take and put a new slab in. But if you have like, say, you know, with the tough sheds and you put it, you know, too close to the property line, you move the thing over 4 feet, it's not, you know.
Yeah, and that's just, you're getting into nitpicky stuff, you know, I mean.
He could sit there and put, you can do this shed, right? But then you don't do this. Like if you have a broader area, it's easier
Well,
to.
what I understand is it's still abide by the square footage part of things there, but I think if you're making that thing where it's a permanent thing, let's say, you know, I want to get a shed, you know, until I build my garage. You know, just store stuff and, you know, that thing's gonna be there for, you know, short time and then it's gonna be gone kind of thing, you know, or somebody's gonna be there, they're gonna not want to sell it, you know, it's more of a permanent structure on the slide, opposed to just having, you know, something just slides all over there.
I just think it's a certain size that requires footings, or you decide to put footings underneath, like it should mention both of those
You
things.
just call it a permanent structure at that point.
Then you probably have to define what that permanent structure
What
is.
is a permanent structure?
Right.
Anything that's on concrete slab or has footings under it? I mean, I don't know.
I just don't know if it can be that two criteria, because then if somebody does just bring in a
I'd
belly
like-
bed, you just go and address it and say, you didn't follow the setbacks, you need to move it.
I'd like to see what some other communities do,
Okay.
just to kind of compare.
And specifically related to the accessory structures or just in general?
Basically, that, and what verbiage should they use?
So I'd like to see the amendments at 105.2 basically. So
Because what I don't want is for somebody that wants to put a 10x10 shed in their backyard. To have to put a gate permit, because, I mean, you will have a shed in there. Like every shed, I mean, you can move that anytime you want. Yeah.
I agree with the 2-day SLA, then just trust the staff to take those building permit inspections. Based on whatever else is going on, right? I'm sure there's gonna be some urgency there. The radar piece of it, to be radon piece of it, I tend to agree with John, where I want to be told that I have to put that in, and if I'm, you know, doing that.
I have long legs, okay?
Yeah, the shed situation, I think less is more, just in general. It keeps your own folks.
I mean, I think that it's important that we define that.
Yeah, as far as the radon in the shed, we'd be curious to see how everybody else is handling that too.
we're looking at that too.
No problem. Robert, is there anything else that you made amendments to, that you wanted to call out?
Not to interrupt you, but I did have a question on these two highlighted here, the. Under 7 feet on the fence and then the water tanks. What are we looking at or wanting to do with that?
Okay, so I highlighted the fences part where it specifically says under 7 feet high. I don't know why the building code even wants to care about fences. There are no standards for fences in this book. in my mind, just exempt fences from this requirement. The zoning still is, I mean, unless something changes, right now, the zoning still requires a permit for it. So that's gonna catch that.
Cause does that require they survey their land, make sure they're.
I haven't been, I've been ensuring that they know where their corner pins are.
Okay.
And that they're building within their own property boundaries. But due to the cost of a surveyor producing a site plan, which is hundreds, I haven't been required.
As long as you know what the pins are.
I think it's more important that the contractor and the owners know.
Yeah.
But yes, exactly. So that's the fences part. Again, doesn't matter to me, but I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. The water tanks thing is a little goofy. This came out of conversation from the planning commission. And they spent a lot of time trying to figure out what this was even on about. I'm not 100% sure why the building code wants to care about water tanks. As far as I know, we're talking about like the agricultural water tanks that are going out in the field.
It's huge.
Exactly. It's huge. And in, you know, maybe in the extraterritorial jurisdiction area, we're gonna be dealing with that, but even still, why are you bothering telling farmers what they're gonna do with the water tank? So their thought process at the end of this conversation, as I understood it, was require permitting for water tanks. That doesn't seem practical. That's why that's crossed out. It's their suggestion, recommendation.
And you agree with that?
Agreed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had the same question.
Those kind of questions? So I think we're gonna keep them moving, approve the first reading of the ordinance. And then
Research into those.
do the research. I don't know that less than Bill. You know, seems great.
Thank you.
Take a motion for approval of first reading of the ordinance.
I will make the motion for the approval of the first reading of the ordinance.
Second.
A motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 806 was made by Chittenden and seconded by Sheminti.
Yes.
Chittenden,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Lawton.
Yes.
Next thing is the alarm renewal. This is what some years gonna be. Did it 1 year for the weekend. I think it's a lot different. Did a couple $1,000, $2,000, 3,000, you go 3 years.
And just so you know, this is something we do every year. No matter how many years you pick, you do it every year.
Have we had to make any claims with them?
We have one in progress right now.
How's the process?
It's been good so far on their end. It's been a little slow on our end, but it was actually for the sign that's sitting back there that was vandalized over 4th of July weekend. It should have been listed. All of our signs should be listed separately because they are $6,000 signs, but they're going to go ahead and cover it under the miscellaneous umbrella. So it's going to get covered. I think that's the only one so far that I'm aware of.
What happened to it?
We think, Matt and I kind of think that someone took a big firework out there and shot it at it.
Where was it located at?
It was on the
County Road 5.
So fireworkers. You guys can see on the bottom there, there's the options, which from 47 by 91 or 50,000. That's not like a whole lot of change, a whole lot of difference. And the 90-day notice is like, and that's a 1-year commitment.
And that number could go up or down a little bit. Like if we would go ahead and individually list out the signs, you know, that could go up a little bit, or if we got rid of something, which I don't think we have, could go down. That's a very close guesstimate, that number.
And every year it can potentially go up, like some of those increases that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
things that normally affected our workers' comp and when you come back and do your audit, and it's based off your payroll and stuff, so those numbers, they never go down, they always go up a little bit because your payroll is always going up.
I think the discounts that are provided based on the 90 or 180 day notice, as well as the varying term, is negligible. And so I would be fine doing another 180 day notice on 1 year now, or 1 year policy.
Yeah. 2%.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between $1,000 and $1,002, is what it would be. Yeah, I just continue to see how long it does.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move forward with the alarm renewal with the 180 day notice, for the 1 year term.
Second.
A motion to approve resolution 2024-0-04, the alarm renewal for 180 day notice with the 2% discount for 1 year was made by Sheminti and seconded by Lawton. Chittenden,
Yes.
Peterson, Lawton,
Yes.
Sheminti.
Yes.
Alright, accept Brett Lawton's resignation from the park board. We're joining the city council.
Make a motion to approve the Brett Lyons resignation from the park board.
Second that.
A motion to approve the resignation of Brett Lawton from the park board was made by Sheminti and seconded by Peterson. Lawton,
Abstain.
Sheminti,
Yes.
Chittenden.
Yes.
Pay application number 1. You guys can see we've got some street board, work on the sewer line. We had a gas line today. But everything fine. Concrete work looks pretty good. That's all. Thursday application there.
68 and you made 18.
I guess I could look at this paper and find it says around.
No, and I try to make it as easy as possible.
I'll make a motion for JEO pay application number 1 in the amount of $68,908.18.
Second.
A motion to approve pay application number 1 to JEO in the amount of $69,908.18 was made by Lawton and seconded by Chittenden. Lawton,
Yes.
Sheminti,
Yes.
Chittenden,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Next thing is the Chief and Community Club, liquor license, not on here. Planning on putting that in the street, Carnival's gonna be here. We're right in front of the church parking lot, basically. We have 6 foot fence, 6 foot fence all around it. They got a couple hoops to jump through still. But I think we're all pretty confident it'll be fine. But this all, I prove it to where we don't have to have a special meeting.
That church is fine with it being located on the street in front.
They were okay with having it in the parking lot, but they got bought out by City Church out of Omaha, or City something,
Pretty light.
City Light. And their regulations do not allow that property.
That's why.
So, by the person.
But they're okay with where it's gonna be located.
I guess that was my main question, is if all their paperwork would be in order, but it sounds like you guys are on that, so.
Yeah, there's a couple issues of their designations that they had. They had paid some dues last year for $3 or something. But they did, so, their attorney with that, which is in the same office as ours. Made a motion to second for that. Unless we don't. Who's that?
A motion to approve the SDL for the Chieftain Community Club.
SDL. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Chieftain Community Club SDL.
One second, that.
A motion to approve the Chieftain Community Club SDL was made by Chittenden and seconded by Peterson. Sheminti,
Yes.
Chittenden,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Lawton.
Yes.
Next, we're looking at that Mount Henry walk in. We're in the community, the further it's really better. You can talk on that, if you have any questions, but there's some things the name of the person here.
Yeah, Robert, came to me a couple months ago and asked if we could come up with a little better title that more defines what he actually was doing for us, and engagement coordinator was kind of ambiguous, and he spends the majority of his time, I would say at least 70% of his time, working on zoning and building codes and stuff. We did a little rework on the position description. It's essentially the same as what CJ had it. We just took out some of the stuff in there as far as like mowing and weeding and things like that. But like the office duties remained in there, and code enforcement, that sort of thing.
Maybe perfect matter, if you guys want to take it home and read it, do that. Not changing much.
Motion to approve renaming the community engagement coordinator position to community planner.
Second, that.
A motion to rename the community engagement coordinator position to community planner was made by Sheminti and seconded by Peterson. Chittenden,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Sheminti.
Yes.
Discussion item budget workshop, Brady and Bob have been working with the Rick Ortmeyer in Fremont, with our books in mind.
We need to do 3 workshops between now and putting the budget out and approving the budget. The first one, Allison was here today and helped us with some of the stuff we've been having trouble with, and we need to have a meeting sometime between now and August 15th and to do a workshop, and that will essentially be just what do we want for expenditures, like line item by line item, and get those set. The 15th, that date is in there because that's when we get the valuation from the county, and then we can know what our revenue and the levy, what it will bring into it. So after you get that, we would need another meeting somewhere after the 15th. That we have a meeting on the 20th next month, so it could be done before that, and kind of marriage those two together. We would have that put together in rough form, like what our revenue is going to be, where the source of revenue would come to do what we had put out for the line items and for the budget for our spending authority. And then the next one after that would need to take place before the budget hearing, and just to nail it down solid with what we want to, go with. So we're looking basically, I would say roughly at one every 2 to 3 weeks from here on out until we get it turned in September. And we're doing by the end of September to get our budget in, unless the special session in state. I don't know if that's still going to happen or not, unless they change some of the rules or something, but that's the schedule we're on now.
Tuesday's one children better than and we're gonna shoot for like, a couple week race, 6th.
Hold on.
It's national night out.
Yeah, the 6th is National Night Out.
What time's that start, Tim?
6:30 is what we did last year.
How much time should we count for the meeting?
They are open-ended. Yeah, we cannot put a time frame on them.
I would guess an hour. We can get about that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, okay, that works for me.
What time?
Monday. I like 7 o'clock just because kids are going to bed.
Okay, that's fine. I haven't installed it out yet, so, okay.
So I'm gonna set it 7. Have that ready?
Yes.
Is this a workshop where you need all the full time? You know, we, in that,
All the department heads, yes.
I'll be on my way back and forth. I get back at 6.
So maybe between now and then, you and Robert can always get together and go with yours. In the back here.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the 5th or 6th,
Yeah,
Monday.
Yeah.
That's second.
can you make that work? You guys have a board meeting that night?
Yeah.
What time is that?
6:30.
You could go back to 7:30. Is an hour enough for your guys' meeting?
Yeah.
You comfortable with that? Let's do 7:30.
It's fair.
Supervisors reports are there. If you guys have questions.
Hold on, did you wanna schedule the other ones, or you wanna wait? I got a lot going on.
Schedule it after the next one. When I look at the ones.
I would suggest the 20th,
Yeah,
whether you want to go before or after.
After that meeting.
I would say since it's open-ended, it
We've
would
done it
probably,
before, we've had it.
So let's just do it before the beginning.
said last year we did it before. I know last year we did them before and nobody ever came, so I think they were like 30 minutes and
So let's do it after. We'll close the meeting. If our council meetings continue before.
Yep.
That's one thing.
Was
The
gonna be
20th?
the 20th.
Good from the 20th.
Are we gonna do 7 on the 20th?
Well,
Well,
6,
you're-
I guess I'm sorry.
we're gonna have it. Was it good year for that, right? Wait,
There's nice of song, but. I don't know the softball schedule, but something. If I can, I will.
all right, now supervisor reports. Do you guys have any questions? Comments, concerns? We did get a job offer to gentleman named Jeremy Brown, lives in town. He accepted his plan starting Monday. Then his background goes to come back to. That is 25 hours now, right? I was able to me and Kyle and Bob were able to make that one. The first guy that offered it, taking a different job, so. Anything else?
With the splash pad, I did order a new cable. I talked to Vortex today. Watertight, both ends, 10-foot long, so. Then they're gonna send me a 4-amp breaker. To replace whatever you put in there. That's electrical, so it sounds like he's just throwing in. With all the troubles we've had, he's just.
I was gonna suggest maybe some sort of doghouse over the top, like if we found a scrap piece of plastic or something. That we could somehow set over the top of just that controller. Cause I think with how those cables plug in, if they're getting hit with water and they're just sitting there. Going back and forth,
Oh, in the pit.
if we could just in the pit, just put a piece over, I mean, obviously we can't cover the whole thing, but just over that computer. Cause to have a $2,000 piece of equipment that gets dumped on 50 gallons of water every minute, it's just silly.
Yeah.
In case you guys haven't heard, we've had nothing from Black Bed for the last, it's been kept.
4 years.
Yeah.
At least.
Like literally. We drove through town the other day, I was working, we were sitting there at 4:20, and they're like. Robert took a phone call, it's like, I'm like, I just drove by it, but we went down there, it wasn't. So.
I'd send my kids down there this weekend when they're looking, and I'm like, go push the button and watch.
I did that last time, my daughter. Yeah, go push the button.
Yeah.
All right, if there was anything else, need a motion and second to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn at 7:39 was made by Chittenden, seconded by Peterson. Peterson,
Yes.
Lawton.
Yeah.
Sheminti,
Yes.
Chittenden.
Yes.